And so obviously after you made those comments at Emmys, there was a huge amount of attention. And I imagine you must have just been overwhelmed with different kinds of responses. And I wonder if you can just talk about first, if there were responses that were particularly painful, and then also what were some of the ones that for you were really powerful and affirming.
Well, I think the best thing that came of it was I work with this organization called Pal Humanity, and it's run by two doctors, Noor and Nagam, and they were in the north of Gaza at Al Shifa Hospital. They have since had to move because the IOF was approaching, and I believe 15 doctors still remain, and maybe even less now. But they're a comprehensive mutual aid organization. They've provided water desalination stations. They have made makeshift schools in the refugee camps. They provide a lot of care to pregnant women and helping with malnourished children in the NICU. And I was able to give more visibility to their work, which is so important. And when I talk about the people that I follow in the footsteps, I'm also talking about them. They are my heroes. And I was happy to be able to talk about them and to try to get more coverage on their organization and to frankly just get more money flowing there. And since then, a lot of people with much bigger platforms than me have done some fundraising for them. And that's just been the best thing that's come from it, I think. You know, I mean, I was just in New York last week, and it's funny because I've heard you talk about living on the Upper West Side. And, I'm in LA. I'm from LA. I'm in my car. But when you're in New York, you're walking, you're out there, and I've had some people yell some things at me on the street, which breaks my heart. I think the thing that breaks my heart first and foremost is what is being done, this genocide. And then on a secondary level, this schism in our community just shatters my heart and soul because Judaism, and especially in New York, right? Like the older Jewish institutions, and I'm not just talking about religious institutions. I'm talking about Katz's Deli. I want to go in there and be like, woo! That's my joy and that's my safety and that's what I love. And I'm like, oh, can I not go to Barney's Green Grass, anymore? Secondary, of course. But it used to be, I always felt this sense of I see a Jew, I'm this is my mishpacha, we are one family, and that family, I think, has been divided in this way that just breaks my heart, especially knowing, and this, coming from being a Zionist and breaking out of it, you come to understand that it really is a trauma response, that it is a response to pain, and pain that has not been adequately dealt with or processed. And to know that this hatred and vitriol and racism and dehumanization that is central to and required of a lot of Zionist ideology is this reflection of the pain that has been, it's this cycle of trauma, right, that has been perpetrated against the Jews and I should say, against our people, and that Zionism sort of continues and perpetuates upon the Palestinians is devastating. And yeah, look, at the New York Post, I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see it actually.
Check it out.
They paid some attention to you in a not very nice way.
Can you believe it?
I'm shocked.
Yeah. I get the same things that we all get of capo, all of these things. We want to trade you for the hostages, all of these things. And, when you see it and read it on a screen, it's one thing. But I think when I'm walking around on the street and someone's yelling anti-Semite at me, my heart sinks because I'm just how could you ever? My love for Judaism and for Jewishness and our tradition, and frankly, the most central tenet of our tradition, which is valuing human life. Please, it just breaks my heart on so many levels because, like I said, I know that that person is in pain and maybe does not even know it. It's still in that unconscious place. It's sad. But the community that I have gained is aligned and beautiful, and I'm so grateful for that. And that exists, you know what I mean? I get messages, and I'm sure you do too, of a lot of people who feel isolated in their family and in their city and in their community. And it's a horrible feeling, but it exists. And I think people are waking up every day, and hopefully that can continue to grow so that we can continue to have that community.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, I think in my experience, one of the hardest things for Jews who are defending Israel to acknowledge is that the Jews who are challenging Israel or challenging Zionism may be also doing it from a position of Jewish love. I think that that's somehow, for people on the other side, very, very, very difficult to acknowledge. And so there's so often this effort to suggest that it comes from some kind of self-hatred motive. But if that's there, I simply just have not really experienced it. I think that the division is so deep precisely because you have two groups of people, both of whom very, very passionately and deeply believe that they're acting out of what they believe is our Jewish values and Jewish solidarity, but just defining these things in radically different ways.
Absolutely. And I try to bring back the idea that we should wrestle and fight and argue. Like that is so central. All of the Talmud is just arguing, and wrestling. That has been just totally eviscerated because, of course, when you start to engage on these ideas, they fall apart. And I do believe that on some level, people who are still Zionists know that. Like it's this very clear denial. And I can say it because that's how I felt. I felt that way. The way that I speak now, if I read it back, I go, oh my God, if I was reading this however many years ago, I would be, no, 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 no. It's so clear. If you cannot engage, if you cannot read one book, if you cannot watch a documentary, why is that? You cannot bring yourself to engage in that. Why is that? Why? Questioning. We have to be interrogating these things,
Right. I mean, if you're so confident in your views, then engaging with Palestinian writing and Palestinian wouldn't be threatening, right?
Well, it
But
shouldn't be a problem.
It's extremely threatening. And I think that speaks to exactly the fragility that you're talking about. This has been a free preview of my weekly conversation. If you'd like to hear the rest and support my work, please consider subscribing at peterbeinart.substack.com.